We start with a poet from 200 years ago. Edgar Allan Poe's most famous poem is The Raven. Sorry to demean Edgar Allan Poe. It's the only poem anyone knows by him. I know a handful of poems. Davante Adams looking for a new team. So what did Davante put on his Instagram this afternoon? A picture of Edgar Allan Poe. And then, oddly, he posted a quote that said, "Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see." So that threw a curveball at us.
Which he attributed to.
He attributes to Edgar Allan Poe, but like most old-timey quotes, probably not said by Edgar Allan Poe. Here's the other thing. If Edgar Allan Poe didn't put it into a poem, he was not leaving bangers just for the audio. You know what I mean? He would put it in the poem. Nevertheless,
Brew's got 1 foot on the desk.
We're halfway there. We're halfway there. What else could that mean?
Halfway to where?
Davante going to Baltimore.
But I thought
believe
you thought that was a bad idea.
What did he say? Believe none of what you read?
well, no, you can't believe anything you hear.
That
So
you're going to the Jets or you're going to the Saints.
And half of what you see.
Yeah. Right, I don't know
but I thought you didn't think this was a good idea.
I changed my mind.
Okay.
New
I
info.
mean, look.
What's the new
I
info?
would not tell Shaq. I would not tell Shaq add a three-point shot, Shaq.
What?
But if Shaq did, I'd be like, you know what? Every once in a while, it'd be nice to have in your arsenal.
I like it.
As long as you keep the bread and butter down low, dunking on people, I don't mind if you go out and hit a three to keep them honest every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's what the Ravens could do. Davante, look, you know, like he said, like John Harbaugh said about Derrick Henry, we didn't bring him here to run 30 times a game, but now you actually did. We're not bringing, if they do, Davante to Baltimore to catch 10 passes a game. But to keep the defense honest, as long as they don't lose their identity, you're still Derrick Henry left, Derrick Henry right, Lamar doing his thing off of that. But you got to throw the ball sometimes. And Nick, Lamar has never had a great receiver.
This would be his best receiver he's ever had in his life.
Absolutely. We saw what Stephon Diggs did for Josh Allen. We saw what DeAndre Hopkins did a few years ago for Kyler Murray. Most people, other than Patrick Mahomes, need a great receiver.
Well, Travis Kelce's the best tight end of all time.
Yeah, true. So now, if they get Davante Adams, as long as they don't lose their identity, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant.
And a few months ago, we did a show where in the A block we led with Brandon Ayuk going to the Steelers, which was unfortunate because he didn't end up going.
We did a lot of it.
We did a lot, and we treated it as if it had happened. It was, you know, such happens. I think these last 5 minutes are maybe in that same bucket, where you guys, I think, are totally disregarding what was the match on the tinderbox that got the Davante Adams getting out of Las Vegas story, that fire roaring. What was it?
Rodgers was the golf team?
No, it was simmering. It was his head coach futzing around on Instagram, and it blew up, and then he demanded a trade. Everyone knows the Raiders are not even actually going to engage fully on trades until he's healthy. Everyone knows you don't make a big trade on a Friday before games. Everyone knows nothing is happening this week. And Davante Adams is, I think, screwing with the media and maybe Antonio Pierce and the Raiders a little bit as some get back.
But is he screwing with Lamar and Derrick? You know what I mean? Like, why would he do that?
I don't know if he's going to play for the Jets or one of their competitors. This idea that Davante owes something to Lamar and Baltimore.
Doesn't, but why troll the Ravens?
Because
why not troll the Chiefs
because it got
or
you
some other team?
Well, I don't think they're. So I guess my point is, I don't think he was. You're right that why do that than the other. But if he's just trolling, which I think he is, you got to pick a team. The Edgar Allan Poe thing is just enough deniability because it's not even a football helmet. It's just a famous poet. And hey, here's the quote. But one of the reasons Lamar has not ever had a great receiver is no great receivers ever wanted to go there.
That's true.
And I don't think all of a sudden now, when they are seemingly more dedicated to the run than they had been in years past, that Davante Adams, who, if you remember last year, after a Raiders win was furious because he's like, I'm awesome. I'm not getting a chance to show you how awesome I am. And I know that he has a quote from over the summer where he's like, yeah, you know, if he could win a Super Bowl, I'd take 800 yards in Baltimore. He did say that. I just think this is internet tomfoolery that is being treated way more seriously by you than I think it should.
You know what, wow?
All right. Feels like Nick Wright is a little scared that Davante is going to go to the Ravens and it gives them another great weapon, and then they won't be so reliant on just running the football. Since when is Davante Adams this big troll? Since when is Davante Adams this big, immature, causing issues everywhere he goes? Where he's now going to try to troll on social media. The dude has been a stand-up guy in the NFL, stand-up wide receiver in a field of diva wide receivers. He easily could have ripped the Raiders and his head coach easily, and could have said, "Are you serious? He's gonna like that Instagram." He could have been really immature, but he's not. And now he's doing the best that he can, what he's capable of doing, to signal who he wants, where he wants to go. And everyone was talking about the Saints or the Jets. And I'm sure that those are still options, right? Because I'm sure it's like, well, yeah, he wants to play with two quarterbacks that he knows. But he's also saying, like, don't believe all that. That's the only place I want to go. Like, I want to go to Baltimore. I'm sure he does want to win a Super Bowl. And right now, he's probably looking at the Baltimore Ravens as potentially the best place to do that. He doesn't want to go to the Chiefs. And also, I'm sure within his limited time with the Raiders, he's probably grown to not like the Chiefs very much either. And also, the Raiders obviously don't like the Chiefs, obviously. And if they're going to move on from Davante, what's one of the best places to send him to? To a place that it has the ability to beat the Chiefs. I'm sure the Raiders would love that. If they can make life harder for their divisional rival, I'm sure they would love to do that. Especially because it doesn't directly hurt them. You know, if he goes to New York, it'll be interesting. If he goes to the Saints, it has the potential to be interesting, but who knows? And if he goes to the Bills, also interesting. But the Ravens, if you had to say where's the best place for him to go to, where he could truly have his highest chance at winning a Super Bowl, it would have to arguably be the Ravens or a full-strength 49ers, which I know that's a lot of weapons, and I don't even know where he would fit into that, but you would just trust Shanahan to be able to make it work. But this other thing that I want to talk about losing the identity of the Ravens, and they're a run team, and it's bad and confusing, and this and that. I mean, that's nonsense. Is Lamar Jackson a top quarterback or not? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then don't give me this nonsense that it's going to ruin the flow of the team. Are they coached well? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then don't give me this nonsense that having Davante Adams there is somehow going to mess everything up. Do they have a great culture, the Ravens? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, guess what I'm going to say? Don't give me this nonsense that bringing in Davante Adams is going to mess that up. All of a sudden, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh and all of them are they're super fragile. They can't handle bringing in Davante Adams. Like, what are we talking? Like, what? What nonsense is that? Even if Davante Adams was this huge personality, right? Like, let's just use Diggs as an example, or an AB. They would still have the ability and the culture and enough leaders to be able to handle all of that. I'm not saying they would want it, but they would still be able to handle it. So this idea is just nonsense that Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, wouldn't be able to bring in Davante. Now the question whether or not a great wide receiver doesn't want to play with Lamar Jackson, I think that's an interesting thing to say. I don't know how true it is, but I'm also not going to say that it's not true, especially because I know a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans and Lamar Jackson fans are very adamant about saying that Lamar Jackson is a great pocket passer, but it's obviously not what makes Lamar special. And there's obviously better quarterbacks in the pocket than Lamar Jackson. And no, it's not because he hasn't had the weapons. Just look at the film. When you look at the film and you look at seeing what he does, his anticipation, his accuracy, his ball placement, that has nothing to do with his receivers. When you're actually just studying the film of what he can and can't do, his ability to make reads, his ability to play within timing and rhythm, which is not his strong suit. He definitely is a more instinctual player, which is why traditional wide receivers are probably not thrilled to play with it, because it makes their job harder, quite frankly. But I think at the end of the day, people still love Lamar. They still know Lamar's a winner. They still know the Baltimore Ravens are a winning franchise with a winning culture. And although I think they've made mistakes from a coaching perspective, which I've talked about at length, they're not a disaster from a coaching perspective, right? They're not this like absolute disaster of an organization for years to come. They're not having coaching issues like the Philadelphia Eagles, for example, or a lame duck coach with the Dallas Cowboys, right? They don't have that. They obviously have stability. And although, like I said, there has been mistakes made, it's still like if you get enough pieces around them, they're going to win clearly, as they've proven in years past. So yeah, I think if Davante gets to this team, I think immediately the Ravens, I think that it would be hard to say that the Ravens aren't the number one team, that they're not favored to win the Super Bowl, that they wouldn't be favored at the very minimum to come out of the AFC. At a minimum. And the rest would be, what's going on in the NFC, of course. So yeah, it's funny to see people like get mad at this or just think that Davante's trolling. It doesn't make any sense. That makes literally zero sense. If anything, he's going to want to work with the Raiders to be like, come on, put me to a team that I want to go to. Right? I mean, Davante is not this immature baby. Okay? In fact, he's been a great soldier considering how everything has unfolded with the Raiders. He's been great. He's been exactly how you should be. He hasn't been like Brandon Ayuk, right? Posting stuff on other social media platforms, talking to other quarterbacks, right? Saying, they don't want me. And then showing up to practice, not even wearing the right shorts and stuff. That's been a diva. That's been a troll. Not Davante. So, doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm excited to see how this unfolds. I don't know who I'm rooting for in terms of where Davante can go. I think New York's interesting. Like I said, I think the Ravens, of course, would be interesting. The Bills would be interesting. All these teams would be interesting. I want to see him go to a team that he can truly compete against, or compete with, and go up against, and actually have some big time moments. We've been robbed of a lot of great Davante moments, and he's a special player that deserves to have more big time playoff moments, and the Baltimore Ravens should be able to get him there. And I know this team is different than it was last season, but it's not hard to imagine that if the Baltimore Ravens had Davante last year, and Derrick Henry for that matter last year, that's plenty to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and that would be plenty to get into the Super Bowl. And then we already knew that the way how they were constructed before, they dominated the 49ers. So it's not hard to imagine that if you had those two pieces last year, you could have been the Super Bowl winner. Again, I know this year is different. I know it's a different team, different levels of health, all that type of stuff. You're going up against different teams essentially because of health and personnel reasons. So it's obviously not a perfect, you can't just add those two pieces, but it's still an interesting thought experiment, still something interesting to reflect on. And I think that, I think the Ravens, considering where they're at, it would be crazy for them to not try to increase this team. It would be crazy for them to not just go 100% all in. And I don't know, again, I'm not a salary cap expert at all. But it's just like you have a couple quarterbacks or a couple wide receivers that feel disgruntled, whether it be Tyreek Hill, who apparently is like, I'm not going anywhere. Whether that's true or not, who knows. But then you have Amari Cooper, which would be hard because he's Brown, so the Browns aren't going to give it to him. But obviously, so that makes Davante the best at offer, and so it's like, go out and get him. Go out and get some of these other pieces from these teams that are just like, all right, we're giving up here, or we got to get rid of these guys. Go out and boost your team. Get yourself over the hump, right? Treat this year as now or never. Derrick Henry is not playing football 5 years from now, okay? At least not at the level that he is right now. Go out and make moves. Double, triple, quadruple down. Look at your team. What do you need? Whether it's to boost defense, boost wide receiver, boost the run game even more than what you have, I don't know. Whatever you think you need. You understand the team. You understand personnel. You're the one with practices. You're the one that's dissecting the film. You're the one that knows what teams you're going to be playing. Get out there and make this team even better by the trade line. Get it done. And if the Ravens don't, the fans should be furious. And I'm not saying that means get Davante. I don't know. I'm not a GM. And I'm not going to pretend to be one. And neither should you, quite frankly. But if they don't do enough, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, if they don't get out of the AFC, Baltimore Ravens fans should just be beside themselves. It should just be, it should just be, holding their feet to the fire. It's now or never. This year, right now. The Texans are not a juggernaut. The Bills are not a juggernaut. The Chiefs are not a juggernaut. The Steelers are not a juggernaut. The Browns are nothing. The Colts are not a juggernaut. The Jags are nothing. The 49ers are banged up and injured. The Eagles are in disarray. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. The Packers are 2-2. The Lions look really amazing one game, kind of okay in the next. This is the year. If you can't win this year, I don't know when you're going to win. I really don't. So get it done. Make the right moves. Boost this team up. Don't create a team where you don't have to rely on Derrick Henry to carry the ball 30 times, game after game after game. Because the dude will be out of gas come time playoffs. I guarantee you that. Historically, we've seen that again and again and again. So make this team better. Double, triple, quadruple down. This is the year. Look all around the league. A lot of teams are inconsistent. A lot of teams are dealing with injury issues. Get it done. And if they don't, the fans should be nothing short of furious. Absolute pure fury. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens? Should they go out and get Davante? What else do they need to do to get this team over the hump? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.